Hello everyone, this is Kevin here, and I know this is a little bit surprised because I haven't really made any StarCraft content on my YouTube for quite a bit of time. It's just because I've been really busy and I can only decide between streaming or making YouTube content, and I went with the streaming path, whether it be the right path or not. I mean, it's up to you if you think it was or not. So anyways, these next 3 episodes or videos that I'm making will be about the matchups. These will probably be my last videos, as I don't plan to make any more, and nor do I plan to play StarCraft 2 anymore after this. So yeah, thank you for the support all this time. I do want to say that I do really appreciate every single one of you. Using your own time to either watch the content, YouTube content, or watch me during streams, or even donating, like all this. I really do appreciate it from every single one of you. So the first matchup we're gonna do is PvP. The second one's gonna be PvT, and then the last one will be PvZ. So we'll go ahead and jump into a PvP replay. This is Crank here. He's played as random, but whether he played as Protoss or random in this match didn't really change that much with my build, because I still open up the same way. In PvP, I like to open up 9 Scout. You have to understand, you need to find your own style. My style is early game reactionary type of style. I like to scout early and react to what they're doing in the game. Some people like to play aggressive, so they'll do like a 3-stalker rush with the Mothership Core and go across the map. Some people like to go with a Stargate and heavy tech. Like, everyone has their own style. You just gotta understand the motive of the builds and see if you agree with it. With the 9 Scout, for me, what I like about it is that if they're gonna go for in-base proxy, I will scout their probe really early. It's gonna be around this time, whenever my probe hits here, when it's going towards his base. If he's going for a cannon rush, usually you'll hit the probe around this as well. But it's not always guaranteed that they're cannon rush if you see it here, but usually it is. The main reason why I like to do this is because of the gas steal. You can also see their chrono boost. You can see their gateway time is at 13 gate, it's at 10 gate as well. If it's 13 gate, you go ahead and steal the gas. When you steal the gas, you kind of restrict their options. And Protoss is a very gas-intensive race compared to the other races. You could do DT Robo, you could do Stargate into DTs all on one base, and it's so hard to read your opponent in that without actually scouting those buildings, and it's really hard to get those scouts in those buildings once the Stalker or the Mothership Core is out. It's just really hard. So my my answer to that was just to steal a gas early in the game, kind of restrict his options. If you can steal both gas, that's awesome. You can just transition into a 4-gate, and usually win because their war gate's gonna be super late, and they won't have that many stalkers to deal with their stalkers. So I'm gonna pause it here so you can understand something. You really want to make sure you understand their gas. Which gas do they have around this time when Cyber's done? Well, when I gas steal, they should have about 150 gas. And when you look over here, he has 150 gas. He used the 50 gas for warp gate. Okay, so that leaves him with 100 gas. So what's next? Mothership Core? Is he gonna make a Stalker? Or is he gonna make a Zealot? He's not gonna make a Mothership. He's gonna save 100 gas for a faster tech. Things like that. The other cool thing about this is that it kind of forces them to make a Zealot. And after the Zealot, they usually want to make another unit to kind of push away my probe, whether it be another Zealot, a Stalker, or a Mothership Core. When you see a second unit being produced from the gateway, usually you have to prepare for the worst, which would be the Stalker, so you'll leave with the probe. So you don't really know if he's saving up the gas or not, but potentially, you know, he's either using 50 gas or not. So that's what's going through my head. The next thing you want to do with this probe is, because you force the zealot out and usually a second unit, whether it be the militia corps or something from the gateway, it's going to leave them to 26 supply. And when it leads them to 26 supply, they have to have a third pylon in their base. You have to have a third pylon in their base. So you want to scout inside their base for the third pylon here. If you don't see a pylon in their base, then something's wrong. Something is wrong. That means he proxied his third pylon, or he's gonna get supply blocked. Knowing that I'm at the high stage of, like, I'm facing GMs, usually you won't see that at all. Alright, so here we finally confirmed, okay, it's a stalker, so that means he has about 100 gas right now, or over 100 gas. And you can see he's not making a mothership core. And when you see this, this is a clear sign that he's not going for an expand build. So even if you can't read his pylons, you could read the situation. When you go for a 1-gate expand in PvP, what's the first unit you try to get out? A mothership core. You gotta get it out as soon as possible so you can gather up energy. So when the Nexus is done, you cast Photon Overcharge to defend that base. But he's not making a mothership core, so that means he is going for some kind of one base play. One base play. You can see my probe is actively looking for proxy locations. You can see how my stalker is going for that as well, but we scouted the Stargate here, so I'm gonna go ahead and send out my units over here. You can see I'm not really diving too much into my build itself, like timings when to get these gateways or not. If you really do want to know what timings I do, you always have the production tab up here, and you can always pause games and write down the supply if you wish. But it's not really, these videos are not going to be mainly about executing my specific builds. It's just understanding builds, because that's one thing you want to understand is there's so many builds out there today, and all of them are valid builds. They're legit. Where they have some kind of good motive behind it, and it's a very clear motive, that is. And those builds are the ones that you want to go with. If the build's not really clear on what you should be doing, or what you should be hitting at this timing, or scouting this, or you just do things on the field, I don't really like those builds. So, because we got a lot of good shots on the Oracle, it lost its shield and it lost a lot of health, which is really nice, because then it's going to be easy for them whenever they come into our base to end up dying pretty quickly. Alright, so because we saw the second pylon, or this pylon right here, we kind of understand what Crank is trying to do. He's trying to get a pylon closer to my base, and he did that desperately, so we're just going to sit back and defend here. With the sentry as well. And we're also going Twilight Council because we saw the Stargate. Remember, it's really hard for someone to transition out of this when their gas has been stolen early in the game. Look how low his gas is. It's really hard for him to go into Twilight Council, the DT Shrine, and stuff like that. Now, remember what we have to do. This is one thing people need to remember, is you need to count their initial units. When we're attacking these pylons, we saw 2 zealots from our opponent. Okay, I don't know if I see these warpins or not. Oh, I do. Oh, awesome, even better. When you see these warpins, you understand the position he's at. It's not a 4-gate, no, 4-gate Stargate build, which is super all-in. It's a 3-gate Stargate, which is still all-in, but he has, you know, a little bit more leeway to transition out of it. Even though the transition will be a little bit hard for him, he's still able to transition, probably expand or anything like that. Alright, So the cool thing about PvP that people tend to forget is that they play the same exact race as you. So when you're doing PvP, to find some of these answers, you usually should just ask yourself, what would you do in their position, right? In his position, what I would be doing is I would be pressuring like him. I don't know if I'd be going up the ramp like him though. Pressuring up, you know, trying to show that he has units here, and behind it expand, probably going to Robo, but he's gonna go for Twilight Council. And Twilight Council is an interesting choice. We've seen him warping in a lot of zealots, and this means he's trying to free up gas for him to tech to a different tech structure. So we don't know exactly what it is. We just know that it's something, because he's been warping in nothing but zealots. Here we go, we killed off most of his units, and now we can go down this ramp. Because he doesn't have that many units anymore. Just play really patiently. We also have Blink on the way and the Mothership Core on the way as well. Alright, so when you kill out their units, you see them running back. Remember what we said? What I think he would be doing is expanding, so we want to kind of pressure his expansion. If possible. You can see he's going up to more gates. He's getting a DT shrine, so he's going to rely on DTs to get back in the game. Now for me, I'm like, okay, I have 3 stalkers back home, kind of defend the Oracle. We did a great job. So now we have to understand what are ways, or try to realize what are ways for him to get back in the game or win the game. Oracles, right? Maybe he made a second Oracle and he's going to bring it into my main when he sees my units on the map, right? Well, I have 3 stalkers to defend, so I'm good with that. Alright, what about DTs? I don't have any detection, right? So let's get this robotics bay while we robotics facility while we expand, and go from there. And looks like he's gonna be gearing up for a counterattack in case he is able to hold this. But if you look at his army count, it's really low. And he sees me going across the map here. He's got enough to put an overcharge right now. Kill out the Mothership Core, and then just gonna kill out this space right here. Guardian Shield to help deal with the photon overcharge. And yeah, this should end up dying. Alright, so we kill his base, we have our base. And at this point you just want to just defend. Once this Nexus is done, usually you're able to just go back to your base. So that's the safest, because we don't know, like I said, we don't know his tech. I do have enough for hallucination though. I probably should have done that, so I can confirm his tech. And now I kind of see it right now, that it is DTs, so we're just gonna go back home. And now he has to counterattack. And he has to win with this counterattack. Okay. So my advantage is I have Blink, I have Immortals coming out, I have a Forge on the way, and I have my second base compared to him. The Forge is there to not only get ahead in upgrades, but we have to also remember, okay, what are ways for him to get back in this game? If he's able to get DTs in my main, that could be quite troubling. So another Oracle as well. Maybe he still hasn't sent that Oracle. Like, even though he probably would have sent the Oracle by now, he's still gonna be super safe because I'm so far ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and get a cannon at each base just to be sure. And the cannon's also really nice because then you can deal with DTs as well, so it serves 2 purposes for you in this game, or at least for me in this game. You can see supplies, you know, huge difference. I pretty much won this game. I'm getting charged because I'm going to be gearing up for a counterattack if he's not going to crush through and kill me. You know, there's the GG from Crank. Okay, so we're gonna go into a little bit longer game. In this game, I'm gonna be facing Arium. He is a GM Protoss from California. And I do the same opening, but like I said, you don't have to copy this opening. This is mainly to learn about matchups. If you don't steal their gas, I don't know what to say. You're going to be playing a little bit on the coin flip because you don't know what tech they're going to be going for. So they might have the advantage against you, they might not. Maybe you both have the same thing. But if you find a build where you feel comfortable with it, go ahead and go with it. We see a normal game, we steal 1 gas. We don't have, if we steal 2 gas, like I said, it'd be awesome, but wasn't able to do that. Already ahead in supply here. That's crazy. I guess he stopped making probes for a bit. Oh, he's not chrono boosting that well. Oh, there he is. And the bad thing about this, where he's putting these pylons, is that it's right next to my simulator, so I get to see what he's making. He's not making any zealot, so no reason for me to leave. At the same time, because he's not making a zealot, kind of means that he's not gearing to kill off the this gas. And we also see the chrono boost being used on a cyber. We see mothership core on the way. So we kind of see this. All of this, we see this. Now obviously he can always expand behind this, right? But our advantage, I think people forgot to mention this, you have to understand your advantage in the game. My advantage in the game, it's not tech. No, he had his work. Look at the work gates between us. There is a minute difference between us. Actually, a little bit more than that. Minute and 10 seconds. My advantage is the gas count. I have more gas than him. So as the game progresses towards the later stage, I will have the advantage. It's easier for me to transition into the mid to late game stage. For him, it's going to be a little bit hard, because he doesn't have this gas. So you have to treat this as an all-in. The way you will lose is if he goes up your ramp and kills you, not if he expands. Because with your tech, which is usually going to be a Stargate in this situation, because like I said, if you do take their gas, it's really hard for them to make gas units at the same time get a tech building going. So that is the situation he's at right now. So my response is a forge. It's not to get an extra gateway or anything like that. It's to get a forge and get cannons. I already have pretty good saturation at my base, so you can always cut probes when you hit this stage and just get some cannons to the front of your base. 2 cannons is enough, unless he's truly committing. Then you obviously you can add more if you need to, but I like to have 2 cannons. Alright, so he sees that, he canceled this gateway right here, and it looks like he is going to go for an expand. And there's his robo. Now look at his gas, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. Doesn't have that much. So it's really hard for him to go into Colossus. And he shows that he's going robo. Like, oh, his pylon placements could be a little bit better in this game. And I'm going to go ahead and expand right here. Stargate's on the way. Now, when you deal with oracles, you have to deal with it with 3 stalkers or a foot-ton overcharge. If you have 2 stalkers, you have to hit it like before it even reaches your mineral line. So you have to hit it like here and then hit it for two stalkers to be effective against this. But another tip when you're doing Oracle builds in PvP, keep it alive as much as possible. Unless you see a Stargate and them going Phoenix, and it's best for you to just sack it already. It's gonna die eventually. But if they're not doing that, keep it alive as much as possible. Don't try to go for that extra probe. Look at that. See, I could have killed that probe right there, but then this would have died, right? So I pulled back. Keep it alive as long as possible. You know, it's in the back of their mind. Oh my God, there's that Oracle's still alive. How am I supposed to deal with it? Sometimes you might be able to cast a foot-ton overcharge like that. See, and then just back out. You just wasted a foot-ton overcharge. Things like that really does help. Looks like he's trying to do a Warp Prism harass here. Upgrade wise, I am ahead. His +1 is halfway done. My +1's already done. My Oracle has 8 kills, so it's doing a lot of work. One, just back out. That's all I'm doing with the Oracle. Is usually I just run in there, kill one probe off, and then back out. Alright. So if we pause it here, we need to understand our position in the game. He did have a robo before us, so he might have Colossus. I'm not able to scout around here because I didn't really send my Oracle around there. We do have our Forge before him, so we know that our upgrades are better than him. And we've been killing quite a bit of probes with this Oracle, so I feel like I'm ahead in probes. Yeah, barely though, so it's not that big of a difference. And we're gonna go ahead and expand, and we do have some way of scouting if he is gonna expand or not. Looks like he is gonna drop, but it does get taken care of. So anytime you see a Warp Prism, you just make a Phoenix from the Stargate, and then the Phoenix will deal with the Warp Prism. So I'm expanding. I have my gateways as well as 6 gates, robos. Usually the structures you want when you're getting a 3rd base. And Colossus, I want to dive a little bit about the Colossus path, and then there's the Immortal Archon. Immortal Archon, you're a little bit more mobile, you'll have more supply, it allows you to expand quicker. But the downside to this is that compared to Colossus, the army value drops. Once it hits past 110 supply, the Colossus based army has the advantage. And it's a little bit easier to play on the defensive standpoint in PvP than it is to play the offensive standpoint, because if you're playing a Immortal Archon, you're gonna have to play aggressive. Look like he's going for a Storm Drop here. I have 17 kills with this Oracle, pretty sick. I do scout the 3rd, finishing up. When you scout, you also want to make sure you're clicking on the units here, see where their upgrades are compared to you. So we're both 2-0 at this point. Powering up on gateways, so when you're on 3 base and you're powering up, you want to go up to about 10 gates. Checking his 4th if he has one. And I do kill this off. So I did lose a couple of probes, but that's not the biggest deal, because if you look at my money, I'm kind of starting to create that bank. Even though I still have a lot of supply left over. Probes at this stage are starting to lose value. You actually want to lose some probes so you can have a bigger army in the later stage. And I'm also going to be able to get a 4th base. He's not going to be able to get a 4th base because you have to understand the situation. To get Storm, to get 2 Eye Templars, that is 500 gas. It's almost 2 Colossus, right? So just a lot of gas that he invested into that. which means his main army is not that impressive. He probably has more zealots than me. Yeah, 12 zealots to 7. And he's gonna rely on zealots, but like everyone knows, +3 Colossus pretty much shreds zealots pretty quickly, so those are pretty much dead supply. I do have some zealots, but it's not too much. I do want to poke right here, but like I said, constantly understand your position in the game and your situation. We have a 4th base on the way. He does not. Does that mean we have to attack into him? No, that means he has to attack into us. We just have to set up a concave here and force him to engage in this little choke point right here, which is favorable for us. So I'm harassing here as much as I can. He's losing probes here, but like I said, probes lose value over time. But we do have a recall from our militia corps, so we're okay. You can see how my army's positioned right here. Should be backed up a little bit further. I have probes with my army. Oh well. Alright. So once my 4th base is done, I'm gonna go ahead and retreat, because like in the previous game that I showed against Crank, it's now his turn to play aggressive. He has to do something when I have a 4th base. Now when you have 4 bases, this is when you can transition into Tempest pretty safely in PvP. I'm not a big fan of Tempest because I tend to lose the timings where they hit before I get Tempest out, so I decided to go for a more just having a lot of robos. Yeah, triple robo. Okay. So, understand the situation. The situation at hand is he's pressuring my 4th base, or he was, so that's why I built these pylons to kind of make it a little bit difficult for his zealots. And then if you look at this little point right here, this is the choke point. Who goes through this choke point will probably have the disadvantage. So I'm trying to bait him to get in there. He's got a good spread. Now, to understand the situation, he has no pylons. He has no way of reinforcing for his army. I do. I have all these pylons to reinforce. So my advantage is that if we do attack, I can warp in zealots here, create this kind of flank for his Colossus to make it more difficult for them to decide to either target the main army or the warped in zealots. You can see he's trying to back up now. Lost quite a bit. And like I said, he doesn't have any warpins. His warpins are all the way back here for his pylon, which is unfortunate. And now he's losing everything. Yeah, this is pretty much game. He's got a huge supply. And go for that killer instinct. Go ahead and go for it and kill him. He's not able to get the 4th base, and you still have yours. I mean, that's pretty much game over in PvP. But yeah, that's that is PvP. And there's one more thing I want to show. One last video, or one last replay. In this replay, I just want to touch base on how to play the late game in PvP, because this is easy to forget. When you hit the late stage of PvP, you're always constantly like, okay, gotta have a max army, gotta have a max army, gotta have a max army. And eventually, or by accident, you're gonna forget to expand. You're gonna forget to keep expanding to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm only on 1 base mining. I needed to take, you know, a 4th base. What was I thinking? Like, my 4th base is so late and stuff. So with this game, I'm gonna go ahead and dive a little bit more into it. This game, I don't open up with the 9 Scout. Instead, I go for a 1 gate expand. Well, I guess we could talk a little bit about 1 gate expands here. When you 1 gate expand, what are your weaknesses? 10 gate, 3 gate, and Stargate builds. Right? Those are usually your 2 weaknesses to opening up with it. So my risk is that I don't think he's going for a 10 gate 3 gate because it's Deadwing, and 10 gate 3 gate's been dying a little bit. It's not as common as it was before. It used to be super common and super annoying. But that's not the case. So now I pretty much leave it to, okay, I had to assume he's going to be opening up Stargate. So what are ways for me to deal with Stargate effectively while going for a 1 gate expand? One thing that helps is putting a pylon right here. We don't know if he's up here though, but still this is a nice pylon because it gives us vision outside our main. So if he does fly in with the Oracle, we can respond pretty quickly to it. Okay. Well, just because you scouted doesn't mean you actually have an answer to it. Our answer is going to be 3 Stalkers, so you're going to see me Chrono Boost out 3 Stalkers immediately to help deal with it, if he is going for an Oracle. I did scout. I think my probe died though. And my probe definitely died. I scouted and I saw no expansion from him. What does that mean? That means he is teching. It's either all-inning or he's teching until later expand. We don't know what it is though. But we do know that he didn't go for a 1 gate expand compared to me. So another thing we could be afraid of is DTs. DTs are pretty common. Let's get this Robo at a decent time. Chrono Boost out the Observer and play safe from there. Want to make sure you do have multiple pylons powering your structures here, because if you lose those, you lose the game. I like to keep these pylons near each other because if they do send DTs really early, if you're able to warp in like 2 sentries, you can protect this pylon or this pylon, either one. You can protect one of them. Alright, so we saw 2 Stalkers, that's it. Now we understand he's got Blink. We have an Observer here to kind of spot for, if he's going for a Blink Observer, we can kind of deal with it. But he's going to use Hallucination. So he's killing off probes, and you know, that's unfortunate, but you have to understand the position that you're at. We had this expansion before him. We have our Robo before him. We actually had our Forge before him. So we're in great shape in that regard. Once you're able to push him out this, you can just go for a 3rd expansion. There's really nothing he can do in response to it. Except get a later 3rd than us. You see his upgrades are late. He did scout that he is going Colossus, and his robotics bay is quicker than ours. I don't really like to rush for Colossus in this position, and the reason why was because I don't know how much he's committed to this or not. So I just stayed on Immortals, and when you see yourself in my position, I'm ahead in economy, ahead in upgrades, ahead in army, where he can't go across the map and kill me. Well, I'm going to be behind in Colossus count. What are ways for me to catch up in Colossus count? Let's add a 2nd robotics facility to catch back up. Right, so that was my answer to his early Colossus start. A downside for him when he does his early Colossus start, he doesn't really have that many Immortals compared to me. So that's good news. Army positioning. You see it's a little bit forefront. We have the pylon right here to kind of see ahead of time. Eventually I have my army around here. And the reason why I like to have it here is because this position is generally where you're gonna have your army by default, because it can kind of defend your third and your natural. You can just easily move. But the thing about this is that you're putting yourself in a weird spot, like the concave or the choke point's a lot shorter or smaller than, you know, smaller for you. So that means you're trading inefficiently compared to them. You have a fourth base on the way. He does too. Now remember, this whole time you've been ahead in supply. We've been ahead in upgrades, and in almost every regard. So him getting a fourth base, I want to try to deal with that. I'm gonna go ahead and kill this off. It's hard for him to engage into my army. I don't know why he did this. Way out of position. Loses quite a bit of units here. You can see the resource tab is ahead for me. And we have a fourth base, and so this is what I was trying to tell you. When you have a fourth base and they don't, you don't have to engage into this. So look at this. Now I did take a little bit more damage than I should. Could have just backed off, back home, wait for him to engage into me. We're blocking off this expansion. We're keeping tabs on his expansions. This is what you want to do. We know his intentions are to go for a fourth base now. Does that mean he's not gonna try to do a counterattack and kill us? He's just gonna sit back and defend. Alright, let's expand. PvP, the best style is to just aggressively expand, in my opinion, because you're gonna have such a booming economy compared to your opponent that you keep trading blows and then you rebuild your army, trade blows, rebuild your army, trade blows. Eventually, even though you trade maybe a little bit cost of it inefficiently, it's still going to be good for you because you have the money to spend and replenish your army compared to them. So now, if you look at his position, he should have at most 4 bases. Right. Maybe not. Maybe he has these hidden expos. So when you have that mental checklist, you should be sending probes over there, putting pylons at these bases, or have DTs on patrol to make sure he doesn't have any of these expansions here. But if you look at my vision, this looks so nice, right? I have vision, I have pylons everywhere to spot, to help me move my army in position if I need to. The only dark spot's right here, right? So alright, so we see his army there. This is once again a bad thing for me. Do I really need to push up against him like this? Not really, right? I have this extra base compared to him. Look at the income. The bank. It's way better for me. Okay, so my zealots are in there. My D2s are being worked in. At this stage of the game, this is when I need to pull back. So I guess that's what I wanted to do. This probably makes sense. I wanted to posture in front of his base, pressure him, make him warp in as many units as he can to get max in the front, because he's like, okay, he's gonna attack in the front. But behind that, you know, warp in right here, and then once these warp in successfully get into his main, I should just back out with this army. But I don't. Instead, I keep my concave, which is a nice concave to say the least, but you can see it's not really good for me. I'm able to survive and get back home. I like to kill off pylons. Not only does it depower him, but it also forces him to be supply blocked, so it's going to be a little bit hard for him to warp in units and create that, you know, his army to counterattack. Now that's what I'm afraid of, is the counterattack. Another thing I forgot to mention is when you're doing in PvP, it's really easy to forget when you're engaging his army and you have a bank. Make sure you have Colossus being built, or something from the robo, whether it be Immortals or Colossus. Have them being built while you're engaging, so that way when you do, if by any chance you do end up dying, you have Colossus to roll back by, to fall back on. So you can see he's only on this amount of gates. You can see his bank is starting to get really high. He has only 1 robo. He's adding on more gateways. Oh, he's got 2 robos 2 robos. This one's T-powered. And we're once again aggressively expanding because in the late game PvP and early game PvP, gas matters most. In mid game, not so much the case because usually both of you are going to be on the same amount of gas at that point. But at the late game stage, not so much. You can see there's so many red dots on this map, so I can see everything. So when you aggressive expand, you get the gas, which allows you to get the gas units that you want in later stage. You want the Archons, you want the Immortals, you want the Colossus. Very gas intensive units, not so much the case of the minerals. Because you actually don't want Zealots in the late game. I mean, you want the Zealots to harass, and that's about it. So we saw that he killed off my DT. I was over here, so now in my head I'm like, okay, let's go see what's going on over there. He killed my DT, there's gotta be a reason why. Oh, it looks like he's trying to expand. Force a cancel there. Keep our advantage. You know, as much as I can. I scouted again. Okay, he's got that base. We saw his army there, his whole army there. That means his army's out of position. Let's kill out these. Now we're gonna back up. Looks like he wants to engage. He's getting impatient. Now, in this situation, we should feel ahead because we're 2 bases ahead. We have a huge economy compared to him. Go for this engagement. We also have a pylon to warp by. His pylons are all the way back here, which is really bad for him. Yeah, this should be GG. So the thing I wanted to kind of touch on is the expanding. You have to understand when to expand and when not to expand, and obviously this is going to take a little bit more time than most, but I do want to point out that you need to know when to expand. For me, it's kind of a little bit more clear for me than it was before. Basically, when you trade armies, it's hard for him to make enough of an army to counterattack. Okay, let's expand. You should basically ask yourself, can he counterattack? The answer is no. Go ahead and expand. Usually it's gonna be fine. You might lose some games though, but just learn from your mistakes. In that game, the reason why I said it was okay for me to expand to a 5th base, this is probably the most the weirdest response, because we did lose quite a bit of army. We still had only some Colossus alive. It's because he went for a 4th base, and we still had a good number of Colossus. That when he goes across the map, he has to understand the number of Colossus that he has. That's all he's gonna have. It's hard for him to reinforce with Colossus. You can't really walk. You can't warp in Colossus at a pylon or anything like that. He doesn't have a pylon as well. Also, we depowered a lot of his gateways, so it's hard for him to counterattack. Right. So that's why I decided, okay, it's safe to get this 5th base. Let's get ahead in economy, which will allow us to make more robos, which allows us to replenish with the robos a lot quicker than him, and then just win the game like that. So that will be it for the PvP matchup. I think I touched a couple things. If you're facing, I don't know what else I'm missing, but I guess if they're going Void Rays, you get Storm and Archon. With my 9 Scout, they do 10 gate, 3 gate. You still hold it with the Forge. You just get the Forge a little bit quicker, and the cannons a little bit quicker. Obviously, that's the only difference. Yeah, I think that's I think I touched on everything in PvP. I probably missed some stuff though, to be honest. But thank you for watching, and once again, thank you so much for supporting me throughout these years. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I really do hope that you get GM or you reach your goal, whatever the goal is, whether it be hitting Masters, Diamond, Plat, GM, becoming pro. I really do hope you get to that stage in your life. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.